Hey, welcome to Adult Conversation radio show with Sunshine on Beltway Radio and beyond. Whew, what a long day. So I got to change modes, change into this mode. You think that will happen when I go get dressed, but it doesn't. It still takes me a while, especially after the ride. So hope everybody's week has been good so far. I saw you last week, and due to some schedule changes, I am back this week. So welcome to episode 197 in our my sixth season, should I say. I can't say our sixth season anymore. So what did I do since the last time you saw me? Nothing. I worked. That's it. I worked, and then I did some more work. But it's been productive work and good work, so all is well. Last week, we were talking about... I forgot the name of the topic. We were talking, well, one of the things I was talking about is like how to get over, getting over past fucks. We were talking about that last week, and it was some things that I wanted to touch on that I didn't want to touch on, but it's going to roll us right into tonight's topic, which is going to be manipulation versus consent, or manipulation and consent. So I think we covered most of these last week. We were talking about why people can't let go. And I don't know how deep I went into it because there was some stuff that I wanted to mention. I forgot the paper. So I want to make sure I got that out this year because this show because I took the time to write it. So I felt like you needed to know. But before we would start on tonight's topic, I want to go back to that. And one of the things that I don't think I touched on was the hope that people still have to get together. Did I touch on that, Game Master? That they're hoping to fuck the person again, they be a future fuck?
No.
I didn't think I did, yeah. And I'm mad I missed that because that was my number one. That was my worst. That was like they're holding on to hope forever, and especially to keep you in their lives. So I would suggest that people should face reality. And one of the suggestions I was going to make is to write a letter. Like write them a letter. We did talk about that. Remember we said set them in a chair
Yeah,
and try to get them
send
to,
it, but you
yeah,
just
not
write
send it,
out,
but just write it. We did talk about that. And then we talked about closure. That was also on the list. I'm glad I could remember that one. And we were talking about fantasy versus reality. So I said that, you know, if you're in a fantasy world, you're like the only one in the world and the other person's not in there with you, which that was really juicy because Game Master took that in a whole nother direction that we got to talk about, which was super exciting. And then we talked about I don't know if I think I mentioned first experiences a little bit, that you may do something important in life and it's a memorable moment. And then I said and one thing I didn't talk about, I know, is that you're not giving other relationships a true chance because you're kind of stuck in the past. So being stuck in the past is never productive, and like mulling over again and again what you used to have versus what you could have or what you want to have now. And other shows we've talked about that inspirational piece, like letting go and moving on and making yourself happy. No past relationship can make you happy. I know that for a fact. So all I said was, my suggestion was focus on the now and not the past of your new relationship, and don't compare. Start fresh. Don't do comparisons, personality checks, memories, and even compare sex. Just start fresh. Because if you're still holding on to the past sex, you're not going to enjoy the current sex that you could have. And don't be trying to teach your new partner how you and your old partner used to fuck, because that's not going to be helpful either. I'm not going through this whole list, but we did talk about stalking and being too dependent on them to be happy, and expectations of a long-term something that are unrealistic if that's something you didn't talk about. So that's it for that. But at least I wanted to touch on that because I took like an hour to write that and I forgot the paper. So I didn't think I missed on everything. So tonight, as I said, we're going to be talking about manipulation and consent. There's been a lot of talk, well, at least in the last year, about consent and the lifestyle. I'm not necessarily talking about consent and the lifestyle. I'm talking about consent in any relationship or anywhere that you might be. Because a lot of times, you know, it's not cut and dry. There's always some what ifs and what about, but I think it's something clearly that people still need to keep in their mind and think about. So I'll start with what manipulation is. And you kind of know what it is, but I think it's deeper than that. It's not like you're manipulating your taxes or you're manipulating your dog with a treat to eat outside. It goes a little deeper than that. When you're talking about human characteristics of manipulation, it's causing or creating a hurtful or harmful influence over another person's behavior in a self-serving way to manipulate desire versus the person acting in their own natural desire. So if you're like persuading someone to do something, anything, it could be anything they're doing. I don't care what it is. It's definitely a form of manipulation. And I think we all naturally manipulate people, just if we're trying to make, are you okay? Okay. Just if you're trying to make someone feel better. I mean, manipulation is not always bad, but it depends on the terms of the manipulation. So you might be, making jokes to someone, make someone feel better. That's not necessarily devious or hurtful, but you're definitely being a little bit manipulative. And in addition to that, people who are manipulators typically confuse their target's mental and emotional behavior to get what they want, disregarding doing what is moral and honest. So that's manipulation. Anybody have anything to add? You look like you had something to say about manipulation. Are you a manipulator? You try not to manipulate? What about you, Game Master?
No, I get
You're not a manipulator. You can be manipulated?
Because people want a lot of things from me because I can do a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
That's the unfortunate thing, because if you give that person an opportunity to help them once, they'll find ways to manipulate you, quote
and
unquote.
to make it doing it again.
Yeah, do it again and again, even though it's like either A, they can do it by themselves,
Mm-hmm.
or B, it's like a last resort type of thing, and knowing the fact that it's whatever time sensitive they want it done, knowing full well it's like you could have asked me a long time ago and I would have done it for you, but since it's the last minute, it's like, you're always in a bind, and it's like, I'll do this for you, I'll cook dinner for you, and all that
and
stuff.
you think they're manipulating
yeah.
you. Yeah.
So,
I used to be able to be manipulated or I'd say as much guilted into stuff as just they're the same. They were like equal to me. But then I, decided one day, like, fuck that. I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm not going to do what other people want me to do. So I definitely learn how to start things if I know it's a manipulation. And they could just be acting on my kindness. And I'm like, well, I can do it this time, but because I don't want you to think that there's going to be a next time, because there's not going to be a next time. So we'll talk a little bit about what consent is. Consent can occur when a person is acting of their own free will and understands completely and fully aware of their actions, acts, or behaviors in a normal state of mind. If a person is inebriated, asleep, or in any way their normal thinking is altered, it is unlikely they can give complete consent. And that's a little muddy. I mean, there's not even any laws really surrounding that yet. Like, how much drunk is too drunk to give consent? You can't really put a limit on it. It's based on situations. But of course, when bad things have happened, especially in a sexual nature, there have been cases that we'll talk about a little bit later where they were overturned because if a person was if you're drinking and you get inebriated and then you do something wrong, and then when you're sober you wish you wouldn't have done it, that's not necessarily you were manipulated. You were aware in your drunken state, and if you're like me and you got multiple personality disorder, one person may have agreed to one thing, and then your next person been like, I didn't really want to do that. So, which is fine, but you can't blame someone else for your own actions if you did it, consciously. And I think I mentioned before, like when I've been around people that were really inebriated, and I could see people trying to manipulate them into, and it could have been manipulated. When I say inebriated, I'm talking about everything. You could be fatigued, you could be high, you could be drunk. I don't care. Whatever, you're just not in your normal state of mind, whatever altered your personality. I've seen people try to manipulate and take advantage of people, and I'm one of the people that steps up and puts a stop to it. Like, we're not going to see someone mistreated because they drank too much. And if we all had that protection metric just as being moral and ethical, you wouldn't take advantage of somebody. And what how don't you say drunken sex is that much fun? I mean, it's like, or any other, even making out. I mean, your breath is hot, you don't smell that nice. I don't see how that's fun. Or like the jokes they make when you at the bar and you go home with somebody and they don't look like the person you thought you met the night before, and you blame it on bad lighting. No, you was fucked up and you forgot who you left with. And I'm not even gonna go into that. That would have been funny, but you gotta be careful these days because you might not be going home with what you think you're going home with at all. So it's a good idea to prevent. You know what I'm saying? Prevent the manipulation by knowing your limit. And if you know you had too much, get a cab and go home. So we'll dig into, I'll start with, let me see, do I want to start with manipulation? Or do I want to start with consent? Or do I want to start with either? There's not really much to say about manipulation. I mean, I can give you examples of what manipulation looks like. And a lot of people are calling it coercion too. When I say manipulation, it's the same as like sexual coercion, what it looks like. And it can include anything. Like, it's not just one basic thing. It's not just the act of sex. It could be someone performing a sex act, or it could be touching, kissing, whatever intimacy is happening, and one person is not fully aware of what they're doing. So if someone wants you to consent and you already said no, or already said you're not interested, and they start to use threats or persuasion, manipulation, or any other tactics to get you to do what they want you to do, it's definitely manipulation. And I think it's sad because a lot of times which we're going to get into the type of pressures that would cause someone to give in when they're being manipulated, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. I want to stay with when alcohol is involved. Typically, it's said that you can't give consent, and you can easily be manipulated even after moderate drinking, because your brain is more relaxed. And I'm not talking about dessert. That's your job to talk about all the different chemical reactions you have. But what I see a lot now that makes it even worse is people mixing. If you're mixing things, you're drinking, you're smoking, you're partying, you're tired, you haven't had a lot of sleep, you're definitely not going to be able to give 100% consent and anything like that. So, can you be manipulated in a relationship into doing something that you don't really want to do? What do you think, Game Master?
Hell yes.
You do? Why?
Because that significant other will do anything and everything to either A, keep you, or B, in a way they say, wrap around your finger,
Yeah.
Whatever spellbound magic or what have you. In a way, it's kind of like for someone will think it's like, I'm pleasing my man. Oh, you're manipulating that person. Because you want them to do whatever you want
when you want it done.
When you want it done, even
how you want it done.
Yeah, and that person will have limited say what's being done.
Yeah, but women can be that same way too.
No, it's either way.
Yeah, it's definitely either way. I mean, women can be quite manipulative, and they can be manipulative with withholding, which actually happens a lot. Like, if you don't do this, then I'm not going to do this. I think that's still...
I think with that aspect, not just withholding sex, like everyone keeps liking, just withholding of whatever, 9 times out of 10, that it's like, look, you can hold you want to hold something? Here, hold this. And I'll continue to do whatever I'm doing.
Right,
exactly.
If you
want to withhold something.
Right.
So really it's, at that point in time, it's just, I feel like it's just two immature people right there, not having a civil discussion about how time management and certain things that need to be done. Proper organization needs to be done, especially when it comes to whatever activities that you're planning to do.
Right. I mean, I don't do it now, but I definitely did it a lot when I was married. I would plant ideas and make somebody think they were their own when it was really my idea. But I was very good at, manipulating their men to do what I wanted done, or do, even if it was like buying something. Say I wanted to get a new car. Like, I would use like trigger words and keywords to make them think that was their idea. It was a good idea, even though it was all my idea from the beginning. I already set my mind on it. Or like a big one was when I wanted to get a swimming pool. Like, I already had a list of why a swimming pool would be good. Exercise, it would entertain the kids. We don't have to go spend all this money at, like, back then, what was it? Before Six Flags, Adventure World. Wild World. It was Wild World.
Water World, actually.
Yeah, it was Wild World. So, yeah, you definitely can be very manipulative in a relationship. Do you have anything to add? You don't think people can manipulate in relationships? In what way? Mm-hmm.
How they care about it, people use that as a transaction.
That's true. That's definitely true. Yeah. And then also with a relationship, you still don't have ongoing consent for anything. Kind of like, even like, what if you put money into the mix? Like, if someone said you could borrow money or take money out of their wallet or their purse, and then you like never asked again, you're easily manipulating the situation because you had permission one time, and now you think it's an ongoing permission, and that's necessarily not the case. I mean, I make it a rule of thumb not to go in people's wallets or purses because I don't want anybody going in mine. So, typically the difference to if you're being manipulated in a relationship or by your partner or your spouse, it's really based on a couple of things, and one of them is if you've already said no. If you already said no and then they're trying to force you to do it, then that's definitely manipulation. And why are they, what is their intent? Like, is their intent to be deceitful or be manipulative, or is it just a real thing that they need or that they want, so they're asking you? And if you refuse, how do they respond to the refusal? If they responded negatively to the refusal and start manipulating you, then it's the same thing. You're still being manipulative. Of course, there's threats, which we all know what a threat is. They might threaten to break up with you if you don't do it, or they might threaten to, say they'll do something to someone else that you're close to, or be mean to someone else. Or if it's in the workplace, which actually does happen. I'm definitely not diving into that. But, I mean, it happens all the time. That's why they came out with all the laws surrounding the workplace and what harassment was. Because if they're saying you're going to get fired if you don't do such and such, they're definitely manipulating the situation. It's the key is, are you strong enough to speak out about it? I don't want to get into abuse because that's a whole nother realm to go down. That's definitely a topic that would take more than 2 hours. Just the mental and physical abuse that people can put on each other. Most people who like to manipulate are abusive. Yeah, they do go hand in hand. But then I got to go into abusive relationships, and that's going to get me off consent. And I do want to stay on consent a little bit. The other thing is social pressure. That's a big one. Nothing I had to deal with growing up, but I think a lot of the younger people have to deal with that shit, which is kind of a shame. Especially when, you know, people are hooking up on platforms that aren't typically hookup platforms. And once you talk to a person a couple times, or you go on a date, or whatever the case may be, then all of a sudden they think they have this right. Like, they're like, okay, but I bought you dinner 3 times, so now what? They still don't have a right. And we talked about that before. That's why I go solo sometimes. I don't need to buy my dinner. I buy my own shit. Or making it seem like if you've said no to something and then they're making it seem like you're being mean, or you're being slow in the process, or you don't like them enough. I actually just saw that on an old rerun of The Cosby Show. Yeah. The cousin was trying to definitely being manipulated by her boyfriend to have sex. And, of course, if you're a younger person teasing you about your sexual status or whatever type of makeout status that you've already reached. And, of course, as anybody would say, it's always somebody's choice as to how they act. Then that will go in line, too, with the emotional side of manipulation. If they're saying it's okay, but you can tell that they're mad or they're angry or they start treating you different or they start being mean to you, it's still the same shit. Continually asking for the same shit over and over again. Or even like I was talking about last week, and that's why I said these kind of go hand in hand for me. If they continue to pressure you and you already said no, or you already said whatever it is you don't want to do, or even just the simple you don't want to communicate, you're still forcing someone into doing something that they don't want to do.
I've been there many times.
You have really? Are you serious?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Again, this is where again, based off of poor time management,
Okay, right,
and poor organization,
right,
happens. So where you tell somebody, like, hey, I have no time for this. I cannot help you right now. I cannot work with you right now. All that stuff, and it gets to the point where they are back. That person is stuck in a corner, and it's like, in you as a person. You know, you don't want them to feel bad. You don't want them to lose out on certain things, and you feel like it's like you're like, good God, you know, you're
right.
you're in that a way without verbal manipulation. You know, when they say, "Hey, baby, I'll do," you know, talk. It's physical, it's visual manipulation, because you feel like it's like they know how you are as a person, and they'll use that as their advantage to whatever it means by doing stupid shit. To the point where you have to save them on a consistent basis. If, like, you know, whatever, like maybe a girl's night out, and you know full well that is there that one friend who
has got to be fucking taken care of.
Yeah,
I can't stand this shit.
So,
got to.
And even though this is like you tell them, it's like, Laurel, I want to have a good night too, but you need to chill out or whatever, just keep it maintained. And next thing you know, they're off the rails, and you got to, it's like, oh,
and
God.
here once again, you got and that is manipulating you in the opposite way, which is fucking crazy. I mean, there's certain people I literally stopped going out with because of the way they behave. And if I know that even people I've stopped inviting, because if every time we're going somewhere, you're drama and you're going to cause chaos, and then you manipulate everybody into feeling sorry for you, and you don't take any responsibility, I don't need to fucking hang out with you. I can be by myself. It's just not worth it. And then I also, I don't go out as much as I used to, but also when I go out and people have this expectation of me, like they're even manipulating me then, like, oh, you're not gonna come say hi? Didn't you see me? Just say hi and keep it moving. You see me enough. Like it's not, we don't talk outside of when you see me. So what the fuck is the big deal? But then they manipulate me into feeling guilty. And that's exactly what you're talking about. And I realized last night, because I've been thinking about somebody that I don't want to fucking think about, but I'm so used to thinking about helping people, it guilts me into thinking about them. When I finally get the freedom, then I feel guilty because I got the freedom, which is ass backwards. So they've been manipulating me for years, obviously, to make them feel better about themselves. Yeah, that's a good point too. Somebody added, what about fast forwarding your timeline? Like if you plan on doing something eventually and then they keep pressing you out. That's still like badgering, like forcing you to do some shit. And that's what you were just talking about, Game Master, in their time frame versus your own time frame. Or doing it at all. And then what I really hate is when you say you're gonna do something and for whatever reason you can't do it. Like shit didn't work, you don't have the time, you don't have the energy, whatever it is, and now they're so upset and mad when you shouldn't have been the person handling their shit anyway. They just manipulated you into handling that shit, and you wake up and be like, you know what, fuck this. I don't have this kind of time. And now they're mad at you. You get sometimes you got to take them L's.
Yes.
Like you have to take the L at how they feel and not be as concerned with their feelings. I think that's a lesson we all could learn. And it's levels of people. If we allow people to continue to manipulate us into shit that we don't want to do. I mean, it was like with the dating thing. Like if I had decided in my mind I didn't want to see somebody anymore, and in their mind they still wanted me to see them, I refuse in this day, 2023, to let you manipulate me into spending time with you. I'm not doing it. I'm done with that shit. So we pretty much talked about what we look. The next thing was guilt, and we just hit guilt. Like I ain't even look down. That was next on my list, and we definitely hit guilt head on because that's what people do. And it could be mild ways of doing it and making you feel more vulnerable, more guilty to manipulate you into doing the shit. So say no. Say no to over inebriation and say no if you're really not feeling that shit and you don't want to do it. So let's see. I don't want to talk. That's silly to me. I don't want to talk about that. Making you feel bad about yourself, which we're kind of touching on too, is pretty much the same thing. That they're making you feel like a bad person. And the thing, when it comes to, and I'm going to go back on the sex side, even though it goes across the board, I think the worst thing that you could say to a person, well, if you don't do it, I'll get somebody else to do it. Well, you didn't even need to fucking say that. You should just went on and did that. Because if you think your threat is going to make me want you more, that's ridiculous.
I never said, it's just like, wait. I'm busy, but then again, you sit there thinking by stating that makes it feels like I was a last resort anyway.
Right.
So
exactly.
It's kind of like, okay, why even ask?
Why did you? You should have just left that shit alone.
Yeah.
Making you feel, and again, that's fucking with how you feel about yourself because you're not helping them. Excuse me, my allergies are terrible, and they were fine till I got in and smelled hot pig's feet and hot sauce and greens. And especially if they belittle what you do because you won't do what they want you to do. That's terrible. That's, oh my gosh. Yeah, I should punch you in the face for that. That doesn't happen to me, but I would punch you in the face if it happened. Do you have something you'd like to add? You look like you have something important to say. Nothing on guilt, nothing on the making someone feel bad. I mean, you're not that kind of person, I know, but I know you know people that have done it.
I'm trying to figure out, even though I understand that if you won't do it, then I'm going to get someone to do it anyway. It's a bad metric.
Mm-hmm.
How long does a person not want to be guilty and not wanting what they want?
Are you saying the opposite?
Like, is that actually a bad metric for someone to go get it somewhere else if they're not getting it?
I mean, that's a hard thing to answer because, I mean, that would depend on...
Is that really that selfish?
There's so many factors that would be involved in that. Like, what's the terms of the relationship?
My point is
or who are the people?
Like,
What's their
always
connection?
manipulation? Like, I do understand, you know.
Well, for this, we're talking about it being manipulation. I'm not saying that couldn't happen, but that's more of a like, are you with the right person? If it's that serious that you feel guilted into having to get what you want from someone else, then you're probably in the wrong relationship, I would say.
I'm trying to figure out what the metric for guilt is because you go to another option. So if you can't get...
What I'm talking about is the person says it because they're still trying to manipulate you into doing it. I'm not talking about the Like this person, this is a method they're using to make you do something that you said you don't want to do.
Okay. Okay, I misunderstood what you're saying.
Yeah, this is just because again, it's what are ways we can manipulate people to do things that they don't want to do when we already said no. Make sense? Okay. Insistence pretty much the same thing, and I guess you could do too much. If you're like, I see this all the time on social media, which it doesn't mean shit to me, but I'm sure there's some people out there that feed into it. If someone's constantly complimenting you, like constantly giving you kudos, constantly showing you affection, I mean, I don't think we just randomly do that. There has to be something you're expecting at some point in return. Does that make sense or no?
No, I mean, if you're...
But there has shit else to do but give you compliments?
I mean...
I'll give you a good example. Not
Compliments are in the eye of the beholder. Let's just say that. We both know that's not a even scale.
Well, let me put it in more detail. So let me put it in more detail. I've had this happen to me, and I'm like on social media, someone has contacted me for whatever reason. It's a business, some type of business proposal. Oh, I have this business or whatever they do. Photography is a good example. Photography is a good example. There are so many photographers on social media who want you to be a part of their portfolio.
Right.
So, and they're not even really actually doing portfolios, they're just wanting to do portfolios. Mm-hmm. So from my perspective, the people that don't have an actual company, this is not something you've done before. You don't have a website, you don't have pictures, things you've done, but yet you're coining yourself as a filmmaker or a photographer just to get a conversation with a person. That's not manipulation.
That's a scam.
Well, it's a scam too, but in terms of social media, it's a scam. But I mean, it's a scam, but you got to think on a lower level. Right, a scam is manipulation, so it's the same shit. Or you talk to someone because you're talking business, and then all of a sudden they want to switch it up. Like this, I know he doesn't watch my social. I don't give a fuck anyway. This young man that wanted to wash my car. This was years ago, and I was fine with that. I mean, I can wash my car myself, but he had kids. I was like, oh, he can wash my car. I help him out, give him some money. I said, well, come wash my car every week. In the summertime and whatever I agreed to pay him back then. Well, then all of a sudden he's like, well, you gonna be in a white T-shirt when I wash the car so I can spray you with it? What the fuck are you talking about? Like, what? No. Like, that wasn't the deal. Like, you understand what I'm saying? So he got so, then he kept saying, well, when you gonna let me come wash the car? Well, you changed the metrics of what this was about. This was business, and you made it personal by that comment that you felt comfortable enough to say that to me, but that's not that wasn't the arrangement. And just because you hear me speak or look at something that I wrote, that ain't got shit to do with you. It's different. So she straight up manipulated, and he lost his own. Then he kept bothering me about the fucking car. So then finally I said, you know what? Just leave me alone. Like, you can't wash the car. You can't even come to my house. Like, you fucked that up because you went too far. And there were other things that happened to make me get that far, but because he saw me somewhere, and it was so creepy. Because when he saw me, we actually met, but I didn't recognize him because I can't see that little pitch. I don't really pay that much mind unless you're a person I know. And then waited until after the fact to hit me and be like, yeah, well, I met you today. What the fuck? Like, what kind of creep are you? Like, you didn't say? Yeah, definitely manipulating to get. And if he did it to me, I feel sorry for the other women that he's done that shit to. So, that made my hair hurt just thinking about that. So yeah, back to the compliments, because you guys seem to feel different. You think so someone gets up every day of their life and hits you up, and they don't want nothing in return.
Hey, everybody wants something. I mean, that's doesn't matter. Depends on no matter good, bad, or ugly. The intentions are.
The intention is.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, I'm disappointed because I only stalked you one time, and I had many more stalks. And I meant to set a reminder so I could stalk you every other day, and then we could laugh about it later because I forgot. But I hope you liked the one. I thought it was hilarious. So, Game as to say when we talking about stalking, he was like, he would like a stalker. So I was trying to be a stalker. But I'm not a very good stalker, obviously, because I only sent one message. And then I said, what did I sign? As Shine Stalker?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was Shine Stalker. So I was going to try to work that out. And then also, the last one for this, I want to move on to the other side because I don't want to stay on this too long. The last one for this is not giving you a chance to say no. So, wait, I don't know if that page. No, that goes with that. Oh, if also, don't be manipulated into. You say this is what I want to touch on. You say one thing, but then your actions are different. So like this like can I put the tip in? Motherfucking well, you're not gonna put the tip in. It's the same thing. Or someone coercing you to go to a certain place, and you go with the you go there with the intentions of just a normal meeting, and then let's say you go for coffee, and you're really going for coffee, and they be like, oh, can I walk you to the car? And next thing they're groping you. Like it just doesn't work like that. You didn't have consent, and you're manipulating that shit.
Though.
You would say what?
That's not manipulation, though.
But their intentions were different, so they manipulated you to get you there. To me,
I viewed it as I think it's deception. I wouldn't say manipulation. It's there's a difference. Everyone forgets that deception is completely
deception
different.
Is a part.
It's different from manipulation.
How do you think deception is different from manipulation?
Because with deception, it's like you see one thing, but there's completely something else is going behind it. You're being deceived by what's really there. Okay. Manipulation is like they're trying to turn you into something.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So.
But I still wouldn't have showed up though. If I had known that the intentions weren't coffee, I wouldn't have showed up. So they had to say something to get me there. But it's
a lot of women would end up in a place if they actually knew the girl. Right. Probably.
You think so?
Oh, I know guys. This is from the mailbox.
So what do you mean by that?
Voice the impulsive intention. We would need some metric of perception so it isn't manipulation.
That
I take you out on a date or to dinner. To deceive you into thinking I want to get to know your personality when I just really like to do you.
What? Y'all do that all the time? I'm so hurt by that.
I'm
so hurt by that.
But it's a thing.
Okay, so out of out of 5 women, I keep the number low. I was gonna make it higher. Out of 5 women you take out on a date, how many of them are you taking out because you truly want to get to know them? Or the average man, or the.
I'm not saying that's not a thing. I'm not saying that there should be an average or a comparison. What I am telling you is that
the deception is bigger than the manipulation?
As happens more often than you want to believe in yourself.
Mm-hmm. You think so too?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, if I say let's go to dinner, that's what the fuck I mean. I don't think anything different. We going to eat some food.
Most people, because nowadays everyone keeps saying it's like
yes, you can be mature and yes, just go to dinner.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But it
looking like your mouth, throat, and tits, then I'm sorry, it's a thing.
Yeah. Most guys, I mean, mostly what you hear nowadays is everyone wants to keep it real. So
then it's all manipulation to me then, whether you're being deceitful or not. Because your intentions of even talking to me aren't real. You're just manipulating me into talking to you thinking you're something that you're not.
But again, that depends on how the initial conversation began. Because again, everyone keeps saying the fact of, it's like, I wish man would keep it real what they really want. So again, if a guy says, look, I want to take you out to dinner, but mainly I just want to fuck you. And it's
I would love it.
You would probably.
I'd love it.
But majority, a lot of women would veer off of that.
What you saying that? If you're inundated with, hey, can I fuck you? Hey, can I fuck you?
I am. Well, I'm not as inundated with it as I used to be.
Because you're asking for someone's truth past their perception.
Which is why when I which I haven't done in a while.
Just asking you to wash your car and go take you to your car.
And I totally agree. But when I always say if I put it out there, I got to deal with the ramifications. That still doesn't mean you get to be disrespectful. But I would, if I post a picture, I already know I'm gonna hear from a couple people in my inbox, get a couple of offers. I mean, it could be random. Or sometimes I don't post shit, and somebody be like, "Hey, you want this big dick?" No, actually, I don't. Thanks for asking. I don't even respond these days. But
This dick.
exactly. It's still not. That to me, you're just an arrogant asshole. That's pretty much all it is. And your dick is ugly anyway. But beside that, I do hope that most people are saying their true intent. But y'all just telling me I'm dead ass wrong when it comes to guys.
I'm not saying.
That hurts my feelings. That shit hurts my feelings. Like in totality,
Oh no.
But
I
if
feel
you're talking
bad.
about, like actual social construct, that is a thing.
But I mean, I've got guys that I never slept with, and we're still friends. We're still cool.
You know, just
Hi,
because
Dennis.
I
Dennis
find
is one
a
of 'em.
female physically attractive and want to fuck her, it doesn't mean that it's okay for me to just split out my mouth that I want to fuck her just because I can say it.
But it sounds like what you're saying is 9 times out of 10, you're only talking to her because you want to fuck her.
That's not what I said.
Even if you're being nice.
I was just giving you the bridge to give you the difference between the deception and manipulation piece and how it has a practical measure.
Well, you should have told me, name it, manipulation, deception, and consent. Because then I could have been, you need not to be deceitful or manipulative. You need to get consent. That's what it could have done. So
But, I do think sometimes, especially when it comes to the physical, deceit is just the name of the game. You know what I'm saying? People put on makeup, they put on hair plugs, they put on
everybody's going out with the mask on.
to give some metric of deception from what they look like naturally. People don't just go out on dates in sweatpants.
That's
I
unfortunate.
personally would prefer that, but that's not how it actually goes.
Well, I mean, that's kind of like putting your best foot forward on a job interview. I mean, for me, it's more the mental side of what people do to get people to do other things, not necessarily the physical side of it. Because I mean, I don't care what you have on. I'm not physically attracted to you.
Does it have anything to do with the mental comfortability of the time?
Of course it does, but I'm still talking about consent to do things versus manipulation, and now you guys have added deception to do things. You can't, even if you put on, it's gonna go too deep. I mean, I totally get that people wear masks all the time and shit.
You as a blonde, and when you take your wig off, you end up being a brunette. You took away my consent.
Oh my God, I'm not gonna let you take it there. No, that's too much.
Man, I am.
No.
I'm reminded of.
I am sick.
Yeah.
I'm not letting you get that one, dude. No,
You deceived me.
I'm not doing
You
that.
didn't come out the gate talking about I'm brunette. Motherfucker, I met you as a blonde.
And that is deception. But she didn't manipulate you because you didn't ask her hair color.
Oh, that's what we're doing.
Now, if you had said, what's your natural hair color? And she said blonde, and it took her wig off, and she was a brunette. That's manipulation. She was deceitful. Luckily, that's not tonight's topic. What does it remind you of, Game Master?
No, he said that the classic song of "She's a Fake" by Alexander O'Neal. It is like, my hair is. Wait, I thought your hair was long, and you got it cut. That was her line. It's just like, I got it cut, but it's like I don't see no hair on the floor. So it's like
That's definitely deceit, though.
all this deceitfulness, but
That is deceit.
We be capping about what we got, and on social media talking about we rich, and then you come to our house and we poor as fuck.
Living with your mother. Talk about they always post vacation pictures because that's not your shit. Like, yeah.
Did you know grown men are Botoxing their ass?
Really? You gonna bring that? That is
Did you know
that's
that was a
deceit
thing?
too. That's also
with
deceit.
Everything that is a man inside me that is so waxed.
they don't want to work out no more. They just don't want to work out.
I'm still in shock behind that. I mean, I'm still in shock what the women do and what the men do. I mean, I'm not into that. So
Because here's the funny thing: they want as much as you're deceiving others, they got manipulated into doing that.
They definitely got manipulated into doing that. Good job. Good job. And it's kind of like, it's almost like the pressure of a used car salesman. It's the same shit. The same shit. But isn't that what the, what is it called? The, I was going to say the cosmetology, not that. That's a little manipulative too. What's the industry where they do
Influencers.
No, where you like your doctor that does your surgeries and stuff like that.
Oh, plastic
But
surgeons.
what's that industry called though?
I just call it plastic surgery.
You call it the plastic surgery? No, it's called a different industry.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they do, but it's still like.
I know there's an actual name.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Y'all got me so confused with the deception thing. The shit won't come to me. But yeah, that whole industry. It did. I feel stuck. Like I feel like I've been deceived for so fucking long. Like, but see, I've always been, and this is my downfall. I've always been a trusting person first until I realized that I can't trust in you. So it would be hard for me to think that most men only talk to me because you want to fuck me. That would hurt my feelings.
Especially when we're talking about gender roles, we talk about social interaction. We tolerate that shit out of each other. You know, when we go to church, we dress a particular way.
True.
You know what I'm saying? We go to dinner, we dress a particular way.
That's true.
We dress a particular way. So we all know that we don't actually dress like that when you're inside the fucking house. It's just acceptable deceit. It just depends on what you are.
But I mean, is it acceptable deceit or is it? But is it acceptable deceit or is it just code switching based on what you're doing? I mean, how is dressing for church any different than me putting on a blazer to go to work? It's the same.
No different at all.
And I'm not trying to deceive anybody. I'm just dressing for where I'm going to be.
And it's necessarily putting your best foot forward.
It is put for the environment that you're in.
Even though it can be.
It can. Oh, it definitely can be. Well, I mean, we can't even get into the hypocrisy based around religion. That, again, is a whole... I'd love to do it with you two because it would probably be amazing, but we can't even get into that because that's a whole nother realm of shit that people do. I mean, you calling everybody else a sinner and you sin every second of the fucking day. I mean, that's a whole nother thing. Oh, man. Well, I am a little thrown off with y'all just want pussy. Damn. Not all men, right? What percentage? Okay, so out of 10 men, how many just talk to you because they want sex?
Again, that's a hard metric. That depends on
You brought it up. You brought the shit up.
You just mad because you want to make it black and white and it's gray, motherfucker.
Why you had to call me a motherfucker, though? I feel manipulated. I feel manipulated into not asking more questions because you won't tell me. So, but but see, Game Master, based on what you all said, you said that they're two very separate things, and I still see them. They're like
Because
at least
they
cousins or brothers and sisters.
Okay, they can be intertwined.
Yeah.
But it's like I said before, sometimes you have to manipulate somebody before you can deceive them. And there are times where you have to deceive them so you can manipulate them. So
it's back to what's your intention.
Yeah. So some people can just straight up manipulate you. Just manipulate, dictate how you want to do things. And other people will just straight up deceive you, for, whatever they want to deceive you with.
Right.
So
if you're drinking together in camaraderie,
Mm-hmm.
that's minor manipulation. If you're drinking to get someone drunk, then you act like another motherfucker after they're drunk.
That's manipulation. That's deception. But see, then it would depend on who's lit and who's not lit.
If I get you lit,
Okay, so if you give me lit,
a total 180,
uh-huh.
that's deception. When we started off saying just minor manipulation, it could have just stayed in manipulation. Both end up drunk, both fall out.
Mm-hmm.
But
If you're giving me liquor to get me intoxicated, take advantage of me, that's clearly manipulation. Oh, totally fucking agreed. And it could be anything. It could be anything. I mean, one thing you're really good at manipulating me about is fatigue. Because you feed me too much and then I be so sleepy. So I just eat and go right to sleep. I be fucking tired. But you ain't cooked for me in the grill in months. So maybe they'll get back to that. But you do manipulate everybody around you with vittles. Sound familiar? Okay, so name one thing that you're easily manipulated about. I can see that. Game Master?
I agree with that. But also, my chivalryness, whatever you want to call it. Because everyone thinks I've capped to save a hoe or whatever they call it.
I talk about that save a hoe metric all the time.
Chivalry shit is a heavy load.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Heavy is the crime.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I understand.
So,
Yeah.
People manipulate us because we're real men.
Yeah. So yeah.
It's cold out here.
Yes.
You don't get no blanket.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Yeah, wearing that armor is cold.
It's
So
cold out here.
That's true. That's a good metric. I like that. I think the main thing that I'm easily manipulated about is definitely like someone's pain. Yeah, that's always a tough one for me, or someone's loss. You know what I'm saying. I can easily be manipulated into doing something that I did not plan on doing. So, and again, I'm still better at it. My limits are way different than they used to be, but it definitely happens. So, what is something that you were manipulated about? You've been manipulated about in the past, but you won't be manipulated about in the future. Besides your favors, because I know you keep that. I know you're thinking about your favors.
I think the one I never initially offered. Actually, let me correct that. This happens all the time, and especially when it comes to nowadays with online, is to where someone asks you for money. They always say it is like, oh, I'm struggling. I got, can you help a brother out and all that stuff? And you help them once. So they already feel it's like, okay, you know about your kind-hearted and all that stuff. So if you, again, months down the line, same person comes ask you again, it's like, yo, man, I'm down on my luck. And it's like, and you sit there thinking, it's like, it's been 5-6 months now. Wouldn't you have gotten a job already?
Did you get paid back the first time or no?
Yeah, and stuff like that. Now, mind you, if you feel like if you know that person, knowing full well what their issues are, especially if you talk to them on a consistent basis, you may offer them again. But if you, again, still know that person, but it's a constant thing where it got to the point where it's like, why haven't you gotten a job? Why haven't you talked to, corporate, some state service to help you out? And it's just like,
why you get that stamp?
To be for money. So, I understand the fact is like, like during these crazy times we've had to go and ask other people for help in some form or fashion, but they didn't. But once things have gotten better, you kind of figured it's like, hey, I think it's time we get off this crutch right now and do your own thing.
Stand on your own two fucking feet.
Yeah.
Did you get paid back the first time, typically?
That's the other thing. Sometimes no.
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate part. And I'm with you on that. Like, that's definitely my thing. Because remember, I said if people are in pain or shit like that, I'm gonna help them if I can, especially if I consider it that we're close enough that I could do so. Now I don't send no fucking strangers no money because people done tried that bullshit too.
No, I'll give you one story quickly.
Sure.
So there was this one person I was chatting online with, and at first I was like, I mind you, it's shaking her ass. She had a nice cosplay thing going. Wearing the Star Wars outfits and stuff like that. So get you there. That's deception. Here's the manipulation, or she tried to manipulate. So apparently, she claimed that she had to use the Nigerian, gold rush type of thing, where she had to need money to pay for somebody so she can get
Oh
an
my
inheritance,
gosh.
out of something like
Yeah,
that.
that's-
I was looking at that, it's like, wait a minute, you're getting an inheritance, so why I need to pay you to get something out of it? And so I'll pay you back. And I was like, once I read all that,
Oh my God.
I
Now
was
see,
like,
that's a scam to me.
yeah, that was
That's
a
a
scam.
fucking scam.
So
The inheritance one.
yes, so once I read all that, I showed it to my funny thing. I showed it to my sister, and she's like, "Man, this is a scam." It's like, I know. So it
Oh
was
my
like,
goodness.
okay. I literally was like, she tried, or this person tried. Let's put it that way, several times to try to get me to say, "Oh, I still need help," and it's like, no.
That's
Then-
really sad.
Then a couple of days later, I found the actual person that person was who was portraying, and I figured it's like I ended up doing this. Like, hey, you need to block that person because that person's lying.
Oh wow.
So it was like, okay, so
That's a full circle.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's unfortunate. That's very unfortunate.
yeah. So the sad thing is like especially this day and age, mind you, everyone knows about the whole thing about going online and being what's the word I freaking forgot now? Catfish.
Catfishing, yeah.
So again, that's being deceptive, but while you're in that mode, catfishing somebody, you're manipulating them into doing things
That they wouldn't
you
normally
wouldn't
do.
normally do. Because,
Exactly.
the things you do for love,
Right.
Sort of thing. So
Or the things you do on a dumbass reality show.
yeah,
Because that
Yeah,
shit
that
is be
too.
super stupid. So
Yeah.
I totally agree.
so yeah.
And I forgot about that one, definitely. Because a coworker that I used to have, his wife passed away. And yeah, he got taken pretty bad. I mean, really bad. And that's when that scam first hit, years ago. And people were just and now they're even pushing with the job applications. You can't get a job via text message. It just nobody's gonna hire you on text. And if you have to send money to get your employment package, it's not real. I mean,
Actually, if you think about that, with a lot of going back to where you say being manipulated and mention the fact that you got to pay a lot of models, like you said earlier about the online photographers saying, hey, I need models. A lot of models that I've talked to through years that mention the fact is like they had to pay for to pay to get pictures,
right.
and it's like normally you don't, because you're pretty much the
You're the
photographer
model.
needs
You're
the
right.
model.
You're the model. If
Yeah.
you don't have no models, who the fuck is he gonna take pictures of?
Right.
Yeah.
So and when it comes to like signing up for an agency, stuff like that, they feels like I had to pay $250 to to sign up for this agency. It's like, wait, they need you. You don't need them.
Yeah, I haven't. I don't even remember the name of them. Thank goodness, because I probably would blast them. But I did this whole acting agency, which I literally listened to the first little thing, and it's like you got to pay a membership and all. And I was like, I ain't really got time for that shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm not doing that. And literally, it's been like a year, and they're still now they keep lowering the price for my membership,
$5.99.
right? And now they're like, oh, they want you to audition for this in DC, and I'm like, I'm good. I'm good. But I don't even respond anymore. But they've been doing it for a year, so they'll randomly be like, oh, they want you to do a skit. I'm like, y'all need to leave me the hell alone. Do with the audition. They want me to do an audition tape.
okay.
I ain't doing no fucking audition tape, and I definitely ain't paying you $29.99 a month for shit. Like, not gonna happen.
Be like Coco on Fame.
You know what? You can audition yourself on the damn social media for free. What would I pay for something for? Did you have anything you wanted to add? Because you look like you had something you wanted to add. I was asking, this time I asked, what have you been manipulated about in the past that you will never be manipulated about again? Weaponizing your chivalry.
So like manship,
Mm-hmm.
that being stoic and being dependable, and taking on people's stress just because I can.
Mm-hmm.
People weaponize that shit.
Yeah. When you're saying weaponize, you mean they're using it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I understand.
One metric, you want to talk about is I can never I never feel like I have the right to hit a female.
Mm-hmm.
But I have come across many times where females feel like they have the right to hit me.
Get you. Mm. We need to have a outside counseling session because I don't think I can talk about that on social media. We're gonna get flagged. Yeah, that's not a topic I can dive into. But that is a good example. That is a good
Now,
example.
when you're talking about verbal abuse,
Hmm.
I don't verbally abuse. I've never verbally abused a female as much as I've been verbally abused by females.
But you can't really say that.
Oh, yes, I can.
You could say it, but that's still a perception, though. I mean, because you may feel like you don't verbally abuse, but that doesn't mean the female feels like she wasn't verbally abused. So, yeah, that's a hard one.
Okay.
So basically, your answer to manipulation in the future is you're not going to let people take advantage of your kindness or you being a man. No, I don't want you to say okay. I want you to understand or not understand.
I do understand, but I'm talking about the hypocrisy of action.
But then that gets into male and female relationships, though. And there's always going to be hypocrisy. So that's not necessarily, I mean, you can't manipulate or deceive someone into hitting you, and you can't manipulating and deceive someone into being
I can't make some.
hitting someone. Did I say that right? That's not a manipulation. It doesn't revolve around manipulation or deception or consent. I mean, you can't even consent to someone hitting you unless y'all playing a game and you like, y'all wrestling and shit. You're like, oh, punch me, or slam me. I mean, yeah, I understand what you're saying. You be trying to start trouble, though. That's what you are. You're a troublemaker. And with integrity. Guys, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to touch on consent. And then we're going to play a short game. And we'll probably be ending a little bit early because I can't even lie. I'm exhausted. But we're going to just take a short break. I got to get up and stretch my legs. So we'll see you in a few minutes. Hey, welcome back to Adult Conversation Radio Show with your host, Sunshine. We've been talking tonight about manipulation and consent, and we've added deception. Yeah. Game Master told me that we have to have the deception in there to lead to the manipulation. We talked about a lot of stuff. It's kind of crazy, and it's kind of disheartening that the world is getting more fucked up. So here we are. But we didn't talk about the consent part yet, but we talked about it in terms of if you should do something or if you should not do something. So a couple of things that well, everybody know we talked about what consent was, but a couple of things that I found really interesting is that Planned Parenthood has a French fry for their metric of deceit, and it's freely given, reversible, informed, enthusiastic, and specific. And they have a picture of I love fries. So I thought that was pretty cute, a way to think about it, that if, and back to what I was saying about someone being inebriated or whatever is bothering them, that they're not in their right state of mind and trying to force them to do something they don't want to do, or if you know they're not in their right state of mind and you don't have 100% consent, you probably shouldn't be doing it. Consent, definitely. And if I wanted to go a little bit, I don't even know how to tackle this because it's going to be different for different people, but it is different levels of consent too. Just like we were talking about manipulation in relationships or manipulation in whatever it is that you do, there are different levels of consent. So if you're not sure if you actually have real consent or not, you should ask questions. Like you should ask the person, like if they said yes, but you have the feeling or their energy feels like they don't really mean yes, you should probably ask some clarification questions. But then based on what, I gave you a new name and I can't remember it. I should have wrote it down. Vagina Redesigner said, everybody's after one thing anyway. Isn't that what you told me, all men? Hello? Fucking can't. So if you're unsure if you have consent or not, even if your only goal is to fuck, you should ask the person, are they okay? Are they sure about their decision? If you know, what steps do they want to take? Because if you're not sure or they seem uncomfortable or nervous, you probably don't have 100% consent. So that's when you should step back. But you told me everybody's out in the whole manipulation deception game. I do. I still feel really vulnerable at that. I don't wear makeup. I wear I wear eyeliner. I don't wear makeup. Makeup is the stuff you put all over your face. I just wear liner. No. What does that have to do with deceiving people, though? It's funny you mentioned nail polish, right? Because I was doing my nails and my toenails the other day, and I was thinking to myself, who fucking decided that women should wear polish? Do you know how much time and money we would save if no one ever decided that was a thing? Does anybody know how it started? I should have researched that. Like, what if it wasn't a thing? That's like $1 billion industry, and we'd have all this money. So then the billions of dollars that we pay to get our nails done and our feet done, we'd have all that. It's the same thing. So, but, I mean, somebody consented to that shit, and now everybody got to follow suit. Because now it's a thing that if you go out without polish on, people look at you funny. A lot of guys wear polish. A lot of guys wear polish.
I'm talking about the polish for y'all. What are you talking about?
Oh, but men get their feet and nails done too. But it's the truth, though. It's not just a woman thing. Oh my gosh, you're so argumentative. Why we have such clear, precise conversations? Typically, why are you so combative? That who needs fucking fairness in conversation? That'd be like asking for consent. No, I'm just playing. I'm joking. Cause you get me off fucking task. You get me off task. You get me off task. Back to consent. Consent also means that you shouldn't have perceived ideas, perceptions of ideas that weren't clearly stated, and you should not be into gender roles. Just because a woman is supposed to do something or a man is supposed to do something according to gender roles. Fucking Twan talking about pedicures are the best. You silly. See? See? I told you.
Polish is what I said.
Okay. I swear you keep getting me off task.
Why you so nervous?
Because you silly. And then I got to try to think about what you're saying and stay focused on what I was talking about.
Find a gray area in male deception. It's fine.
Try to be very comfortable with completely expressing how you feel when it comes to consent and not how you want the other person to feel by your consent. Does that make sense? So make sure you're giving actual consent of your own accord without changing how you feel because you don't want to change how someone else feels or not give them what they want. That's basically where I was going with that. So behavior like here you want to talk about the dress in a certain way, the flirting, accepting a ride, gift, or drink is not a form of consent. Because you accept it doesn't mean you're giving consent to other things down the line. If it's offered. Make sense? Okay, good. Neither is saying yes or just saying no while under the influence of drugs or alcohol or doing so because you feel pressured or afraid not to do so. That's not giving consent. We talked about all of that. One of the problems that's been a big problem, I'm going to actually give you, I told you when I went over what Planned Parenthood was into, I like that they said consent is defined as it's reversible, meaning you can change your mind. Even if you give it, doesn't mean it stays open forever and you can take consent back. Specific consenting to a kiss does not automatically mean you consent to anything else. They like you spending your money or drinking all your liquor or trying to fuck you while you sleep. None of that shit involves consent. Informed. If you consent to something, but then this is a good one actually. They say if you consent to sex with a condom, but then your partner doesn't use one, that is not consent. That's deception too. So let me go back into the deception side.
I wouldn't call it deception.
What do you call it?
If
I'd love to hear your opinion on this because I have more to say.
When people do that, when initially they say they want to start off with using a condom, and somehow it magically disappears during the whole heat of passion.
Mm-hmm.
My thinking is the fact it's like someone pulled that off. It's either her or him. Now, for a sensible guy, he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't pull it off.
What about a not sensible guy?
A not sensible guy. What not sensible guy would want to have a kid in the end or get it?
But I don't think, and you're the man. I'm not a man. Mm-hmm. But I'm just basing on what I've heard, how people behave. I definitely think more men would try to take it off than women try to take it off. That's just my opinion. What's funny?
Because I think
your black and white perspective because you're basing it off your experience.
What else would I base my opinion off of? I can't have anything else to base it off of.
Because the main excuse is you always hear is I like to feel it raw. I like it. I like to feel the skin on skin. Whatever excuse they want to say they have, and no one consents to that. I don't know why everyone says that, but really it's just like in the end it's like you have two possible outcomes that will not go into your favor highly: an STD or pregnancy.
Right.
What man, and I'm sticking to this day, I figured it's like, what man want either one of those?
I know very intelligent, very
unless they're adults,
well-off men that will go in raw if it's consented, and they're not bad dudes. They're stand-up dudes.
Now, is it due to the fact of
it's the act.
Okay, is it within the lifestyle or
no, not even
in general?
Just you could be on vacation, and you just decide that if she giving it up raw, you taking it.
Okay, I've had my initial experience with sex. The person I was with, she consented to go in raw.
Mm-hmm.
For I said, hey, would you like? She asked me, would you like to go in raw, and I did. It was nice. I'll give it credit. It is nice. But
It's a little different.
it's a, but the thing is, it's like, in my mindset, it's like, I don't want to get you pregnant. I just don't.
Because that's a concern of yours.
Yeah,
but for so many,
And then that's the thing. It's like, I think due to the fact of, for a lot of people, they don't think that anymore. Because why?
They don't.
Because they've been manipulated by television and videos to the fact that it's like, hey, you've been going raw and try to pull out and come all over the girl's
I mean, there's
body.
drugs all over
you won't get her pregnant.
there's medication all over the
And
TV
medication.
that you
We
can
manipulate
do wrong shit.
Yeah.
And the day after,
Yes.
now it's so many.
Yeah.
It's so we've talked about
Here's
it.
the perfect manipulator.
Yeah.
Irvin Magic Johnson. The man has survived AIDS for over 30 years.
Well, I mean, now it's not that big a deal.
And everyone else has been dying left and right, but he survived for 30 years.
But I mean, aren't you getting permission if you take the drug that prevents it?
Nowadays,
Yeah. Now I'm coming in the now.
yeah.
I mean,
but back then it's like you had the whole fear factor.
Yeah, that's true.
Catching AIDS, and then one man comes out and say, "I have AIDS," and then and it's like, I told my wife, said we're good, and next thing you know, you Cookie has two good healthy kids, and,
Oh my
and
God.
she's healthy, he's healthy, and it's like, all right,
so maybe it's not that bad.
to him, and it may not be. Because he's all
But
drugged
like
up.
you said, it's the manipulation
Yeah, he
of
manipulated
the
everything.
perception that you will still be okay.
Right.
So I know you had something you wanted to say. I can see it in your face.
No.
You look like a kid in school.
Preacher over at Preacher 3SL. Testifying I have no additional epithet.
And it's not a black and white thing at all. It's really not. It's not an age thing,
My question to you is,
and it's not a gender thing.
normalizing bad behavior. How can a good person be good when they're that mindless and put someone in that much danger?
I don't know. You tell me, because you know some of the people I'm talking about.
Like that.
Do you think they're bad people because they make that bad decision?
Person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a bad person because you make a bad decision.
You're a bad person when you put someone's life on the line.
But there's two people. There's mutual consent.
So again, this is
There's mutual consent involved.
This is one of those gender role things where, as a man, I am responsible for the safety of the person that I am entering wrong.
Let's say as a man that holds integrity high.
So does that make them good or bad? Because they don't have integrity.
I don't think you can
A
categorize.
nigga give you AIDS, that makes them bad.
I agree.
Irregardless of the goodness.
But the female could give it to the man. It's still they mutually decided to take the risk.
Okay.
And I'm gonna tell you, and I was gonna say this when you were talking, but I wanted to give him a chance to speak. Also, raw dick and condom dick ain't the same.
True.
So it is very hard for me, and I've said this all along, don't feel the same. So if I'm throwing a party and I get a complaint that a female is saying he took the condom off, that you're blaming him. You ain't know the difference? Like you didn't know the difference between the rubber and the raw? I mean, what the fuck? It is we've had this debate before, and I'm fine with it. It is a joint responsibility between two consenting adults. I'm not going to blame the man, and I'm not going to blame the woman. You are sharing, and that's fine. But they're still sharing to me, it's more the woman's responsibility. If a woman gets pregnant, she got to deal with the pregnancy. Straight,
Wait,
he
wait,
really
wait.
don't have to deal with it.
Okay, so I get the sense of fact of it should be a mutual responsibility. with
Mutual
that.
responsibility to me.
Okay, but in the end, if someone's saying it, he say, hey, can I, the one who will ask, can I go in raw, is always the dude. You rarely will probably hear a woman say, hey, I want you to.
I don't
fuck me
think
raw.
that's true. I honestly don't. I typically roll with you what you say.
Unless, here's the thing, unless it's a woman who's been fucking since she was a teenager and saying it's like, I prefer it raw.
No,
then
or it's a woman that's trying to lock down a man. And there's a whole lot of those.
Yes. you're trying to manipulate and deceive at
exactly.
the same time. So by consenting to that, to me, is stepping into a whole lot of danger now. And the thing is, though, I believe in nowadays, it is kind of unfortunate that a lot of people are doing it because of the fact that they feel like, hey, I want to be a porn star, and it's like,
safe to do so.
Yeah, and that's how they think. But really, because they manipulate it that way. But then again, you can talk to any adult entertainer out there, and it's just like, hey, they take pills, we take precautions, and pretty much it's like, this is all fantasy. They say that every time.
And yeah, somebody brought up the latex thing. That is true. A lot of women have the latex allergies. However, you can buy non-latex condoms.
Yes.
There's ways around that.
Lambskin.
So, yeah, there's non-latex. So that's not really an excuse. And I was a person that carried my own condoms for years. And I still carry my own, and I don't fuck nobody else. So
Condom Depot people.
yeah, I still carry my
get
own.
discounts.
What would you like to...
I think I like the smell of hot latex, nigga. No. But, so I don't catch fucking blue waffles.
Right. Exactly.
It might be helpful.
Yes. And there's flavored condoms.
I'm not saying anything we're saying is not wrong. But I am saying if both people agree to not use a condom or whatever type of protection, it doesn't have to be a condom, protection from pregnancy. There's female condoms too. I mean, if you're both not into your own safety, you're giving mutual consent. So that is consent. I was talking about what's not consent. Not consent is if someone asks that a condom be used and at some point it is not used. That's not consent.
Right.
I totally agree with the other side, but I mean, I think our difference is he's some old blue waffle. He said it's the real military have a video and it's very graphic. You seen the videos of Blue Waffle? Oh, we'll be sure. I'll make sure he check out those videos.
I don't go down that road.
I would
Off the internet anymore.
I would definitely like to dive more into we did it before, but I want to do it from a different spin. So if I can remember, I'll have to write it down. I don't have a pen. But next topic, we're going to do gender roles and who's responsible for what. Because I think that would be a lot of fun. And like old shit versus the new shit. Because I think we all would have a lot of opinion on that. All right, so informed, condom or no condom. Enthusiastic, you're excited and actively want to participate in what is about to happen. And I really like that one. That's probably my favorite because you can't be enthusiastic if you fucked up. You just can't. If you out of it, you can't be enthusiastic and naturally happy about what you're about to do. Like you're excited. Like, and that's the bad part of how doing things as males and females or whatever you're into is made it muddy. Because now there's all these expectations that shouldn't even fucking be there. And especially now with what he said earlier. I'm not over it yet. I'll get over it after the show. Freely given. You're not... Men want pussy all the time. Freely given. You're not pressured or making a choice under the influence of drug or alcohol, which we've been talking about all night. So, a lot of what they talk about, of course, are things that happen on college campuses. So they're recommending, and I mean, we always talk from an older perspective because we're more mature, older people, but there are some factors that should be considered when you're a younger person, and especially if you're dealing with a younger person. And we didn't touch on that. What if one of the people in the relationship is much older than the other person? Are they manipulating the entire time? Because you could typically easily persuade younger people, especially if they haven't done much in life, to do things that they wouldn't typically do. So how you get them to do it is a definite factor.
I think in that aspect,
yes.
I think in the whole realm of younger and older,
Mm-hmm.
I think younger guys get manipulated more.
I would agree. I definitely would agree. Yeah, I definitely would agree.
So they're
because they thirsty. They want it.
Yeah,
But then also older women are usually putting it on them, so they ain't never had nothing like that before. They don't even know how to handle it.
Right. So,
Until they become a stalker because they about to tell your husband.
Yeah.
This shit to change.
But I think the thing here is where, mind you, they manipulated to getting this person. The younger, older person manipulating into the younger one. But there is consent involved, but really depends on what state you're in.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
And mind you, here in America, there's you still have various southern states. Yes, I did say southern.
Yeah, true shit.
You feel like they can consent under the age of 17.
Right.
So, and I think when you go outside the United States, there are under the age of 13. Which
Definitely.
Is sad to say.
Yeah.
And
I've touched that a couple times, but I ain't been bold enough to talk about it on air.
So,
I mean, some places the act of is like you have to do it. It's part of culture.
Yeah, it's part of the culture.
Yeah, it's part of the culture. So, yeah, you're definitely manipulating into doing what the fuck you're told if it's part of the culture.
Yeah. And but I think at some point in time, when that younger person is slightly older or old enough, I would say, let's say between the age of 16 to 18, okay, and I always have this weird thought process of when we were high school and all that stuff, and you saw the hot teacher, and you figure it's like, and you sit there and you're like, I would bang her and all that stuff, and if the opportunity was allowed, it's kind of like okay, why, if it's consensual, if everything's all good, it's like she wants me, I want her. It's like, where's the problem here? But then again, it's like, again, depends on what state. It's like, do I have to move down to the southern states?
But also immaturity of the mind. I mean, is
it immature? Because really, it's like you've already learned about sex ed, and especially if your hot teacher is the sex ed teacher. So, and in addition to the fact, it's like, you are understanding your body a bit more anyway. So you kind of, mind you, their hormones are enraged, but at the same time, it's like you do know what right and wrong is here.
Right.
But again, it's like, mind you, it's like either A, you want to have, do it with the hot teacher or the hot, student that's sitting right next to you. One with experience and one who probably has limited or none.
Right.
I didn't want to fuck with my.
But why didn't you want to fuck? They what? Oh, they didn't look the same.
Yeah.
They sucked penis, absolutely different.
So you feel that you were giving consent because you were getting a higher level of sexual satisfaction and gratification.
Man, black, white, wheat, nigga, that shit. Going to that shit at 14 years old. And
so were they sucking it with a condom?
No.
Yeah.
No.
That wasn't even on your mind back then, was it?
Absolutely.
Wasn't even on your mind.
I wasn't fucking wrong either.
But I ain't even gonna go into that.
Man.
But you know what I'm about to say? It's still the same though. It's still risk. And you know it's risk. You know it's risk involved.
Yeah.
I mean, G in the mouth ain't a joke from what I hear. I ain't experienced it personally, but I heard. I didn't even know it existed until somebody told me. Yeah. So it's still that risk. And you at 14, that bike week, did you think that you were a person of integrity?
Oh, fuck that. I had my uncle with me.
And they were cheering you on, I'm assuming.
No integrity there at all. I can take the stance.
Excuse me. I understood. But that's also, you had that experience. So we were talking earlier about people that don't necessarily have that top-notch experience.
True.
So,
And you were lucky.
What does that have to do with maturity and your behaviorism as you grow and get older? Should I just go back to my teenage years? I didn't experience it.
I'm not making a dig. I'm just putting I'm basically I'm circling back to what Game Master was just talking about. The maturity level does matter. Because the decisions you make as a high school student are not necessarily the decisions you're going to make as a married person with children. Or, you know what I mean? And you're not going to make the same decisions at 17 that you're going to make at 35. They're going to be different decisions. Because they didn't have the same experiences at 17. Some people actually.
I disagree with that. Yeah, no, that's disagreeable. Because the thing is like they somehow constantly will be in the same.
But you're both saying that, and you both just gave me an example of when you were young and you made a decision to be raw.
But again,
at a younger age.
But really, it fully depends on the individual. So each individual is different.
And they very much so.
Yeah. So, but there are people who literally will constantly be in this weird loop of having the same opportunity to consent into something they shouldn't be consenting
because
to.
Maybe they don't fucking grow up.
Right.
Maybe they in fairy tale land with my ass. Right. I don't know. I mean, I'm not. I'm not in fairy tale land when it comes to certain shit. Mm-hmm. But I mean, people do get stuck on stupid. I mean. Right. I still don't think that makes him a bad person, though. I think it makes him too risque and too inexperienced is what I think it makes him. And then, I mean, sometimes people just get buck wild. So, I mean, a condom has been a thing for me since my divorce. It's just been a thing. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a big deal, but that's just on the safety metric. Mm-hmm. But then I grew up in the era where people was dropping dead from things like AIDS. Like, there was no cure. There's no prevention. You get it, you die. Like, I've been to funerals, and that's what happened, So I guess that, too, and that's still back to me saying it's experience. Because had I not had those experiences and seeing what it could do to people, what it could do to families, the loss, all that shit, I might have been a little more risque.
So what you're saying is if someone doesn't have the experience or the innate knowledge of deception or manipulation, they get more freedom to engage in that experience as they age.
I wouldn't call it a freedom at all. I would call it a bad fucking decision. And I think I said that. It's a bad fucking decision. But who am I to say why they make bad decisions and I don't? I don't know the answer to that. I don't know why. Just like I don't know why, like, there's stand-up men and then there's men that are pieces of shit. And I don't know why there's real women and then there's straight-up manipulative bitches. I just can't, like, that's well beyond my reach of understanding. Because I'm better at what I know or what I've seen or what, stories that people have shared or shit I watch people go through. I mean, it's kind of like you got to set your limits. Is this okay for me or is this not okay for me? But I also can't judge people because they still make dumbass decisions. Now, if I consider them intelligent enough that we can have the conversation, I will be happily tell them why they shouldn't make that decision. And again, me and you did this together. We had a whole conversation at our house about someone making a bad decision and why it was a bad decision. And you saw the reaction. He's like, what? He's totally oblivious to, oh my gosh, you guys are right. Fuck yeah, we're right. I mean, it wasn't something that I think he was consciously thinking about. Because if you don't have no scare metric to make you see that shit in the reality of it, you're going to make a bad fucking decision. What's the shit everybody put their money into and all their money gone now? Crypto. Was it cryptocurrency? That shit's gone, right?
No,
it's
well, the big, whatever the big one was, all the people. Yeah, that's bullshit. Didn't everybody follow suit?
Not everyone.
Well, not everyone, but the people that were in it that took the L's. They thought they were making the right decision. Was it a good decision? Or what is a bad decision?
Well, again, they were, they consented to it.
They consented to it.
But in a way, it is like, based off of how they feel like how crypto is at the time, it's the hot thing. So,
right.
And so they figured it's like they went into all that.
And they took that fucking risk.
Yeah.
Whether they lost or not, they lost.
Right.
Well, most of them.
They respectfully consent to it.
Right, exactly.
So, but when it comes to things like, quote unquote, business decisions and stuff like that, of course, there's full risks involved as long as you know those risks are involved. Right. So they knew those risks were involved.
Exactly.
So they just didn't know that a guy would steal their money.
But is that no different than taking the risk of not protecting yourself?
unless there was unless you have a, when it comes to something business wise, you're supposed to have a mutual understanding of and respect. Right.
A lot of people do though.
Yeah, but you have to have that mutual understanding. It's like, hey, you don't hurt me, you don't screw with me, I won't screw with you, and we'll be good.
Right.
So, but when it comes to intimate personal relationships, that thing is 10 times bigger than business wise, because in the end, there's a lot more things complicated than would be in business, because business you're well protected with lawyers and rules and regulations and things of that nature. But when it comes to personals, that is completely out the window when someone fucks up everything else.
Understood.
The social contract is important.
I understand that. So I want to go ahead.
If I am fucking a female raw, there's a social contract involved in that.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's a very important social contract, as important as a business contract.
So if you make the decision to go raw, are you not consenting? And but you're consenting with it in mind that you are going to keep that person safe.
Yeah.
And hopefully that person is doing the same for you.
Yeah.
But if you just met the person and you're having a one-night stand and you decide that you're not going to use protection, is that the same?
No.
But you both consent to do it.
You consented to have sex. You never and all that stuff. Everything else, and especially, let's say, if you throw in this weird scenario, you have a one-night stand with a drunk woman out of the corner and head over to the Holiday Inn to get your romp on. No condom was involved. That's it. Because the heat of, quote unquote, the heat of the passion and all that stuff, we didn't have time for it. We couldn't find one. Whatever excuse you gave yourself to have sex with that particular person at that moment in time. You just consented just to have sex, and that's it. And never to see each other again if whatever possible.
Right.
But things happen. You end up pregnant. The guy, he's probably find out, he's married and all that stuff. The baby's on the way and all that stuff. Then a whole list of shit comes out, and it's like his, future wife is, screaming at him because it's like, you got this girl pregnant, all this stuff. So the point is like, you can consent to a lot of things, like I said, in intimate personal relationships. But again, like I said, there's a big list, imaginary list that you got to check off before you really should go all in it.
And that's what I wanted to talk about tonight. Like the responsibility of how you get what you want.
Right.
I mean, that's what the whole
Right.
You just summed it like fucking up. Like that's all what it's about.
That's why, because that even though the lady I had sex with said it was okay to go raw, I was in raw for a good maybe 5 to 10 minutes, and then literally I pulled out and say, let me put back on the condom again, because I know full well it's like, one, I do respect her, and I wanted to respect her, and then the fact is, like, by continuing to go in raw in the end, and especially if I come and I don't pull out, that's a whole other issue. I do not want to deal with it, especially at that time frame in my life.
I understand, and that makes sense. It definitely makes sense. And I don't think anything that any of us said that there's a wrong or right. And I don't think it's black and white. It is very gray. It's really fucking muddy. Mm-hmm. But if we don't ever talk about it, how are we going to unmuddy it a little bit? Shit'll stay muddy forever if you never talk about how people feel about it based on who you are, what you know, age, gender, all those things that you don't want to seem equal, but it's important when it comes to, like you all said, social responsibility and morally doing the right thing and keeping yourself safe and the people around you, whatever type of relationship you have. It's some important shit. And it is our responsibility to make sure we keep the people safe around us. So, I mean, I'm not even going to say it. I was going to say it, but I'm not going to say it now. But I mean, even in my, I've only had a few long-term relationships, but even in a few long-term relationships that I had, we always start out with the condom. We use condoms for years. We don't just go in, freestyling. It's just not my thing, because I just don't think it's safe. So I commend people for making their own decision, but do make sure that you have full consent, especially when the condom thing is sticking with me, because I can't believe that that was so muddy. I don't want to dive in that. It's going to take me somewhere totally else, and it's just wrong. So we're almost out of time. We are gonna play this game. It should be quick. So thank you for wrapping up the topic, Game Master. You did it eloquently, and I didn't have to think that hard. So he wrapped it up so good. There's really nothing more that I need to say on that. So the game this evening we're going to play, and it's going to be fast. It's called Personality Traits and Behaviors, and it's in line with what we discussed tonight. So I'm just going to read some traits and behaviors. And we have 20 of them. We can skip around if we need to. And your answer has to be that you have this trait all of the time, most of the time, sometimes, or only during sex. You got 4 ways you can answer. Are you listening? All the time, most of the time, sometimes, or only during sex. So you know how kind of in the bedroom is a little different than your day-to-day. So think of the first 3 as your day-to-day. Okay, so number 1, are you an asshole? All of the time, most of the time, sometimes, or only during sex?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Sometimes, definitely mostly during sex.
I would ask in what way, but we don't have that much time. Okay, number 2, are you sexy? All the time, most of the time, sometimes, or only during sex?
I would say only during sex.
Only during. Both of y'all said that? That's crazy. I would say most of the time. I don't know. I think I'm sexy most of the time. I mean, if I'm naked, I'm sexy, and I'm naked a lot. So, I mean, I walk around naked. I think that's pretty sexy. That should be sexy, though. I mean, sometimes, like, if I just have, like, if I'm going to make coffee in the morning, you are an asshole all of the time. Let me clarify that. If I'm going downstairs to make coffee, when you walk down my steps, it's mirrors. The whole wall is mirrored. I can't help but see myself. So sometimes I be walking down, I be like, oh, that's nice. Like, I see my little curves of my shoulders and and I'm like, that's sexy. But I'm not, like, about to go fuck myself. I'm just commenting myself. Shit, my mirror say you amazing today. Shit, fuck yeah, I am.
Mirror on the wall.
Y'all silly. I gotta get through these. All right, number 3, kinky. All the time, most, sometimes, or only during sex.
I would like to
Thoughts
say,
matter.
I know. Let's say this. I would say
Thanks,
but
Twan.
only in sex, but everyone thinks I'm kiki all the time.
Most of the time. All the time.
Yeah.
Okay. I can see them thinking that about you, though.
Mm-hmm.
Sir? We got like 2 minutes. Swan said only during sex. Kinky. Sometimes you're kinky? Yeah, I would probably just say only during, and I'm not even really all that kinky during sex. So it would be, if I was gonna be kinky, it would be during sex. Number 4, moody.
I would say a good majority of the time.
So most of the time,
Most of the time.
moody. Sometimes. I would probably say sometimes too. What would you say? I'm sorry. Would you like to answer for me? I'm not fucking moody all the time. Are you talking about me or all of me's? pick one person. Shit. I'm talking about me here. Me right here. I'm not moody. The other chick might be, but not me. Swan says sometimes. Ghetto.
Never.
Never.
Damn near all the time.
You are. I say you more country than ghetto though. Maybe country ghetto. I can rock with that. I should create a new one. Yeah, I'm sure. All right, number 6, kind.
All the time.
All the time.
I try to be kind all the time.
I think I'm kind most of the time, but I'm not kind all the time. Number 7, happy. Sometimes.
I hide it very well.
That's why I say ghetto sometimes. Sometimes, okay. Controlling. I'm happy most of the time too. Twan's happy most of the time.
I would say during sex.
During sex, you're controlling. Okay,
Because
that's
it leads into that, because if she's, consenting to be submissive, then
Happy
allow me
sometimes.
to take control, then yeah.
okay. Are you controlling? Which
I can be controlling sometimes because I'm so controlling during sex.
that makes sense. And Twan said most of the time. I would say I'm controlling sometimes. Number 9, loving.
I would say all the time.
Yeah, I would say all the time for you too. Most of the time. I'd probably be most of the time too. Number 10, introvert.
Oh, that's all day, every day.
Okay, I knew your answer. All day. Yeah. There's a never for me, but I'm always an extrovert, and that's the next one. So you're an extrovert when? Only during sex or
Only during sex.
extrovert? Okay.
Actually, sometimes, but majority during sex.
Okay. Twan says sometimes for loving and never for introvert, and you're gonna be always for extrovert. Meticulous. Number 12.
Defined, for those who don't know.
Huh?
Define it for those who don't
Oh,
know.
meticulous, like you're always on point with things, like you like things a certain way, organized, and you're meticulous that things go a certain way.
Never.
Really?
There's.
You're so timely. I see you as a bit
There's
meticulous.
timely, but then again, it's okay.
all the
Then
time.
to fully properly answer, I would say sometimes. To properly answer it.
I don't think I don't. You're always around me as me, but I'm never around you as you. So that's probably why I'm wrong. Meticulous. Sometimes. Twan says sometimes. I'm meticulous most of the time. Sarcastic.
I say most of it.
Most of the time, you're
But people wouldn't know it because I'm so introverted, and when I do say something,
they don't realize you're clowning them.
Yeah.
I like that.
So it was like, whoa, where did that come from? Because it's like, so yeah.
That's sexy. Yeah. Sarcastic.
Sometimes, usually all the time.
I would say you're all the time, and Twan's all the time, and I'm sarcastic most of the time. Arrogant. I think that's a never for you, but I don't see you being arrogant.
There you go.
Yeah, I'd say not some. I wouldn't. Even, sometimes it's even a hard one for you. You're kind of arrogant during sex, though. Because you're bossy.
I can say.
Yeah, I could say that.
But that's because I know fucking
But and so you're being arrogant. Did you hear that arrogant ass statement? It's one
He's
says
controlling
sometimes.
her sex.
All right, we're almost done, guys. We're almost done. 15 is adventurous
During sex.
during sex. Sometimes. I would say sometimes too. I wish I had time to be more adventurous. I don't have that much time. 16 is giving. I kind of know. I know your answers. Both of y'all are all the time. I bet.
I'm trying to say most of the time, but you can say all.
You're
the
in
time.
the borderline.
it's
You're
the
border. You're
borderline,
learning.
In between.
You're learning.
'cause
Yeah.
Again, those damn Nigerians.
I know, right? Are you giving? Most of the time. And Swan said most of the time for adventurous and most of the time for giving. I'm giving. I'm between most of the time and sometime now. 17 confused, and Dwayne said all the time giving. Confused.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. I would say sometimes too for confused. Wrapping up. 18 nervous.
Most of the time.
Really? Oh my gosh! I see. Oh, that sucks.
Again, a
I don't
facade.
see it. I could say sometime. Yeah, I would have to say sometime. Very little ain't an answer. You be adding shit, but yeah, not nervous at all. Twan said 17 rarely and 18 sometimes. All right, 2 more confident. Well, shit, fuck it. It's no sense in if you're nervous, you're not confident. So
I'm sometimes
how about in the
confident.
bedroom?
I would.
That was the trick bag, the bedroom part.
The bedroom part. I would say in the bedroom.
In the
I
bedroom,
would feel confident because again, Nothing happens when the lights are on. So,
Yeah. Watch how I do this.
yeah,
That's why I said always.
watch it.
Where's your confident level, vagina redesigner? Okay, I'm confident most of the time. And last but not least, number 20 is funny.
Funny. Sometimes.
I think you're funny most of the time. I gotta be around you more though. Like in the opposite. Not with when you're with me. I need to be with you. Funny? You are fucking hilarious. If you wouldn't have said fucking hilarious, I was gonna be like, you're fucking hilarious. I think I'm pretty funny too, but I'm definitely funny most of the time. Because when it's real shit, I really don't have time to be funny. So thank you, Twan, for answering. And he said number 20, funny most of the time. You are funny most of the time. You funny when you don't even know you funny. Thanks for hanging out with me, guys. I gotta go. I ran a little bit over. So thank you for rocking with me. Have a great rest of the week, and I will see you guys soon. Much love.
Yeah.